first step, vibrato step number 1. We are not using our instrument at all. We are just taking our left hand and we're making sure that there's flexibility in this joint right here, in this knuckle that's near your fingertip. Okay, so what I do is I take my finger, I make like an O shape. Do you see how my thumb is like serving as a platform? We can imagine this is your string or your fingerboard on the violin, and then your finger comes down like that. Do you see how there's a bit of a curve here in my knuckle? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and I'm going to see if it's springy or not. I call this step 1 springy fingertips. You see how when I press, it goes in, and I release, it just pops back out. For me, this is super important because I see a lot of, I'm going to change fingers now. I see a lot of kids who learn how to do vibrato, but it's not fully developed and it's actually riddled with a lot of tension. But they're doing it and it sounds okay, but to a trained ear it sounds not very organic, and it sounds very tight and tense. Okay, so, and it sounds narrow. So this exercise kind of sets up the student from ground zero that they're going to have loose joints over here, and therefore they're going to have a much wider and more luscious vibrato. Okay, so you want to have that same springy action on all fingers. So hopefully you can see that all right. Okay, you don't need to do it with both hands. Obviously, this is your bow hand, this is your violin hand. So just work on that. I even tell my students, hey, do it in the car on a long car ride, or waiting for the doctor at the office, or if you've done all your homework at school and you have some downtime, you can work on your vibrato. So this is really, really important. Not sure if you could see in the beginning clip, but my finger when I'm doing vibrato, it's constantly wobbling right here on that joint. Okay, step 2. I call this knocking on the door. So I take my violin hand again, right? And then you can see my wrist a little better here. I start acting like there's a door right there, and I'm going to knock on it with this knuckle here. Okay, so knock, knock, knock. Now, knocking on the door is kind of a misnomer because I don't want you to stop. It's not this kind of knock. It's more of a pendulum swing. So, as like just something swinging back and forth. It's just swinging this way. All right, so you don't really want it to stop. You don't want it to stop here. You don't want it to stop there. You want it to just keep wobbling back and forth. All right, and think about it more going that way, because it's not knocking on your head, it's knocking on the door. But if you go that way, you're going to have an equal and opposite swing this way. So think that way and then equal and opposite swing. So you're going to do that. The main thing I look for here is that it's really hinging from here. If you want to hold on here and keep it steady, that's a good way to make sure. And you want it wobbling in a straight line. Imagine where your violin is and which way the strings go, and that you're going towards the scroll. Okay, so you want to be knocking towards the scroll like that. You don't want to be knocking this way. So I don't know if you can see, I'll do a straight on view. So I'm knocking towards the scroll. See that? But some people, they get wobbly and they start twisting that way. So we don't want that. We want this. Okay, hopefully you can see that. So that's what it looks like this way. All right. So I'm looking for regular motion. I'm looking for a wide motion, and I'm looking for nothing getting jerky, right, or stopping. Okay, so step 1, I usually teach my students step 1, springy fingertips, and step 2, knocking on the door on the same lesson. That's the first one. So then they come back a week later, and then if those 2 are successful, then I go ahead and teach step 3. So step 3 is when we take this motion and then we kind of hold our violin, but in a strange way. So we're going to take our violin here, and then we're going to put our arm inside this area here. This is the shoulder, and there's the neck. I'm going to put my arm right in there. Okay, so I'm holding it normally. I bring my arm and I put it right there. And you see how my wrist is way above the fingerboard. That's what we want, okay? So my wrist is way up here. If you want, you can take your hand and steady this, or you can steady it here, okay? And then you wobble. So do you see, without the violin, we did knocking on the door. So now step 3 is with your violin, but putting your arm too high over here into the corner and wobbling the same way, okay? And this gets tiring pretty quickly for novices, right? So you're gonna wobble, wobble, make sure it's going in the right direction. We wanna get the same range. So that's step 3. This might take a while. You might get tired in your arm. And then you wanna make sure, the reason why we're bracing this right here is to keep this steady. Okay, so the constant focus throughout is to make the motion come from this hinge right here. Okay, so that is step 3. If you find that your vibrato, or if say you're a teacher and you're teaching this to your student, you find that it gets circular and wobbly, then go back to step 2. All throughout you could keep doing step 1, because you can never do too much of this. Okay, then step 4, okay, would be, we can go from step 3. We're going to bring now our hand under, like the way we would normally hold the violin. We're going to slide up until the heel of our hand is going to bump up against the shoulder here. Okay, so when that happens, and see my thumb is kind of normal here, when this happens, this is usually 4th position. All right, I'm a huge advocate of teaching vibrato in 4th position, because I think that's the most correct. And then so when you put your finger down, right, let's say you're gonna start with your 2nd finger. Hopefully you're on an F sharp, right? And then that way your hand position's nice. You see how my finger is upright, it's in a good tall shape, right? And then we're kind of ready to go here. So step 3 was up here. Step 4 is here with the heel of your hand leaning up against the shoulder. Okay. Now what we're gonna do is the thumb. Actually, step 4 could be either your thumb is staying or moving. It's up to you. All right. So basically, what we want is the wrist should be wobbling. All right. So now, kind of like this whole piece of your hand is doing the knocking on the door. Okay. So you see here, knocking on the door. See how it looks pretty similar? Now your heel of your hand is here, and then now you're knocking on the door. I personally think it's easier when your thumb stays, but if you see the thumb is going together with your hand, that's fine. Okay, so you're gonna do this, and then you're gonna also look for still keeping this absolutely quiet here. Okay, if you want, you can again hold here like that. That steadies it a bit more, and then you wobble, wobble, wobble. Okay, your fingers can be kind of like looking like a bit of a tidal wave, nice and relaxed over the string. Okay, so that's step 4. Step 5 is you just kind of let your fingers fall down, and any finger can touch on the string. It's just going to very lightly touch the string, and when you do the vibrato, it's going to just slide. Okay, sometimes I tear a little piece of tissue off and I put it right there. It's kind of like you're polishing the string, you know, with a cloth or something like that. So you want to do that. Nothing's really changing shape. You're just wobbling, and you see how this part is so relaxed. I'm not trying to do anything, and sometimes I see my student, they're working too hard. We don't want to let individual parts of your finger doing work separately right now. We want it to be, again, hinging from the wrist, very relaxed. Okay, so this would be step 5. So we have step 3 up here. Step 4, just wobble with your fingers in the air. Step 5, your finger can just come down very lightly and brush. Okay, and then usually all of these steps up to step 5 take quite a while. So you might need several weeks for each step. And then finally, step 6 is going to be when you can do step 5, but then you just kind of keep your fingertip in the same spot, and then you're going like that. So I'll show you what that looks like here. Okay, so I don't know if you can see, but this part's wobbling a lot, and that's why we did that first step. See, it's up and then it's back and it's up. So you can see that a proper vibrato, right? I don't know if you can see, right? Yeah, you can see pretty well. Just a few of the demos that I did for you right now, the groove from the string that, you know, press into my fingertip is from all the way from here going all the way back to there. It's a diagonal groove. You can see a little bit on my second finger, but mostly in my third finger. So that's a good sign. And the longer that groove line is, the more luscious and rich and wide it's going to sound. So so that's the motion here. Okay, and then so I usually at this point, when they get this one pretty well, then I try to have them start changing fingers now. So they start with their favorite finger. I think my favorite finger is third finger, and my second favorite finger is second finger. So usually their favorite fingers are 2 or 3. And then, you know, make sure that everything's really comfortable, working correctly. And then if it looks pretty good, then we might add the bow. So let's try a little bit of bow now. So probably third finger would sound like a G sharp, right? So hopefully you can see my hand, my finger wobbling right there. In the beginning, they're gonna sound a bit more like a siren, and that kind of bothers them, but I tell them, you know what? It's supposed to sound weird. It's supposed to sound siren-y and like whiny, so it's okay. It's totally okay if it sounds like that. As long as the motion is correct, I'm usually really, really happy. Then we stay there and we develop that for quite some time. We start with our favorite fingers. This takes sometimes weeks. And then we go to our least favorite fingers, our 1 and our 4. They start to make the hand shape and the motion go funny sometimes, but at that point, hopefully their 2 and their 3 are pretty good. And then you get the 1 and the 4, and then you just go for it. You just have to do it. Just do it as much as you can. And notice that I started everything on the A string. I don't recommend starting on the E string. So I would say maybe A string or D string. G string seems a bit far, so it might create a bit of tension in your hand. So I would say D and A string are great place to start. 4th position, as I said. And then once you develop all the fingers and you can play, you know, many bows with every finger, then what I do is I start to encourage them to not lean so hard. So they still need to touch, but they're barely touching now when they're doing their vibrato. Okay, so it's still, this is kind of like your training wheels on. And then if they barely touch, right, then they're able to control this steadiness themselves, and then they can go to 1st position, and you see how this is still steady. If they don't understand that concept by now, they're gonna do this. And whenever I see a lot of kids trying to figure out vibrato on their own, I see absolutely no motion here and a lot of motion here. So I don't know if you can see that. The finger is like staying rock still right here, and then the wrist is going like crazy. Obviously the sound has to be changed over here near the string. So if the finger's not really moving, then you're not going to really hear vibrato. All right, so if this is kind of going all over the place, then I would say go back to 4th position and do it again. And then if it's pretty good, then move right away to 1st position, wherever, and then see if you can do it. You can also take your hand and brace it right here. Do you see? Now it's still, and you can try it here too. I think the scariest part for the student is this final step, where they have to go away from the training wheel, get them off, go to 1st position. So anyway, those are the basic steps, and then I will hopefully upload another installment of the vibrato from this point on. All right, good luck.